Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Freedom Empowered. Just want to start off by thanking you guys for tuning into the show. Remember to tell your friends about the show and just get them to listen. I think they'll learn something. We are your hosts, Nick and Mason.
What's up, guys?
How are you doing today, Mason?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. It's a great day to be alive. A little
Yeah.
cold here, but that's good for the Penguins, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just got off work this morning. It was pretty smooth working. Uh,
Right.
so today we just want to talk to you guys about today's topic is actually Airbnb. Just some stuff that's going on with Airbnb. There's people coming out saying they want regulations on Airbnb. I read some news articles about like 6 of them. Probably could have found more, but I think 6 was enough for our show today. Uh,
I would say that it's about Airbnb, but that's not like obviously you guys know that's not the goal here. We're going to talk about it, but then we're going to use it as like an example to basically just talk about like some things that are going on in society or like some personal things. And basically, how can we better ourselves and how can we like use Airbnb's idea or like learn from this situation to make it realistic on our level, to make it realistic on your level, my level, Nick's level, because I think that Airbnb is one of those businesses that has an impact on the individual level. You know what I mean? Like the average man, like you and me, are impacted by what Airbnb does. So then it's interesting to see that people are out there talking down on it. But I'll let
yeah.
Nick take it from here.
Yeah, exactly. Airbnb is a unique company. They're like a motel, short stay. Excuse me. They provide a service to the community, to the country, to people all over the world. Actually, I know they're in Australia, the UK, Germany, France, Japan. They're all over, and they provide a pretty good service. So some of the stuff that's going on. So one of the articles I read, it was about short-term. They're talking about, they call it short-term rentals. So I'll just read the quote. Short-term rentals through websites like Airbnb, HomeAway, VRBO have grown in popularity over recent years, creating new revenue streams for property owners and giving travelers more options. But critics say the trend is changing neighborhoods and should be regulated in the same way hotels and motels are.
So basically, what they're saying here is that Airbnb is damaging communities, that it's maybe taken away from hotels or from bed and breakfast, some of these big like standalone businesses where they like own a building and whatnot, and like they have these hotels. They're saying that Airbnb is damaging them, and somehow that's a negative thing. So, I mean, then again, this is where the argument comes in place: is that it might be unadvantageous for hotels, but when you're looking at the big picture, is Airbnb not beneficial to the vast majority of people? Is it not? Has it not benefited myself? Has it not benefited Nick? Has it not benefited you guys? Do you guys see Airbnb as somehow a negative thing that has come
Well,
about?
I completely agree. I think it's very beneficial. It's very efficient, and I think it's important to point out that in this article, the critics are the hotels and motels that are losing business from Airbnb. It's clear that they don't like the competition. And in a different article, it calls companies like Airbnb and Uber disruptors. And what they mean by that is they disrupt other businesses by providing better services. But they're not going
Right.
to add the better services part because they don't want to seem like, oh, it's all about us. But that's what they're complaining about.
Right. So then that's the question, though, is that so are they actually hurting someone or are they just better than these people that are complaining? I don't know. And then you can go into even take it a little bit further, and specifically the director of Franklin County Chamber of Commerce, they met with bread and breakfast and like big hotel owners, and in a way to see what they can do about this quote unquote Airbnb problem. And then that begs the question, okay, I thought that the government was there to help the people. I thought the government's job was to protect your life, liberty, and property, and not to meet with and, potentially conspire, if you will go there, with big business or whatnot to take away competition. I thought their job was to create competition, to create opportunity, not to, take it away because a company has come out and created an amazing service that people love.
Yeah, exactly. And especially in today's day and age, we live in an economy where the best products should succeed. The best products get the most sales. And
Right.
if the hotels and motels and stuff aren't providing good enough products for them, then if Airbnb is going to beat them out. Simple.
Right, right, and it's like, and so what would their solution be? It sounds like what the solution for these big hotel owners and whatnot, for the government, they want to increase regulation on Airbnb to essentially increase the price so that less people will be going to Airbnb because now Airbnb's prices go through the roof because there's so much taxes and other government regulation on them that now it would make them less fucking com- less competable
Competitive.
with yeah.
Competable?
My bad, dude. My bad. But you
No,
know what I
no,
mean?
no.
Like, sorry, we're gonna try not to cuss on this show, but every once in a while it comes out because I'm like, I love Airbnb, and I think that all they do is positive things for the community, and it kind of bugs me when you see people come out and claim that somehow they're a negative thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when in fact they help large amounts of people. They save tons of people money. And I think one of the biggest implications from adding regulations and taxes to Airbnb or the Airbnb house is it's just going to make the prices higher and hurt the consumers. Consumers are us, the people staying somewhere, looking for a place to sleep at night on their vacation or on a business trip.
Right.
And
Right.
well, like I just want to go over with some of the stuff that they're trying to regulate. I think it's New York City. Don't quote me on it, but I think they put up a law saying you can't rent out your place for more than 120 days,
Right.
and it can't be a second home as to be your primary home. And they also want to tax them a crap ton just because.
Let me just make this simple for you guys. I think that we can easily wrap our heads around it if we bring it down to our level. So, imagine that these hotels, since they're in the same service like niche, they're in the same like industry category. So they're both service-based organizations that provide a place for people to sleep, basically. So imagine if they're a family, right? And the Airbnb and so are the hotels. They're like siblings in this family, and one sees that the other one somehow got an advantage. Like, hey man, like you got a cookie or like you found some candy, and then they turned in their sibling to their mom saying, hey, my brother here got found some candy or like someone gave him a cookie. I think that's unfair because I didn't get one and you should take it away. Like that's how I see this right here, is that just because someone has come up with a great idea and is now following it through and coming up with this excellent business plan, then now the other one feels threatened, so therefore they're going to try to damage their brother or their competitor in an attempt to make themselves feel better.
Instead of trying to make themselves better, you're going to try to hurt the other one and raise the price. Another example I thought of is like doctors. If you have a doctor, you're obviously going to want the best doctor available. But what if all the mediocre doctors, they're still good because they're doctors. You want them to be good. You don't want to die. So if the mediocre doctors complained to the government and were like, these great doctors are getting more business than we are and it's unfair. We want to level the playing field. And they're like, add regulation, make it so they can't treat past a certain amount of patients. Just like Airbnb, you can't rent out more than 120 days in a year. So that does nothing but hurt people who are trying to get the best care possible. And in the same idea, it does nothing but hurt people who are trying to stay somewhere for cheaper and trying to save some money and have a nice vacation.
Right. It's like, I feel like a majority of the people, the normal population, they would sleep in their cars if they could for something like this. You know what I mean? Like they would, but that's illegal. Unless you're sleeping in like a Walmart parking lot, maybe then that it can happen. But why should they have to do that? Why can't they go and rent
Or
a
a
cheap room?
24-hour fitness parking lot too. I've
Right.
done that
That's
before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went to Stagecoach a couple years back, and we looked up the hotel prices. We're like, man, that's way too freaking expensive. So we're like, all right, we searched up the nearest 24-hour fitness. We all had 24-hour fitness passes. So we're like, all right, we slept in our car, went to the festival during the day, came back, slept. Next morning, we would shower, jacuzzi, swim, work out, get your daily essentials in. Anything you could do at a hotel. We just did it free for that weekend. Obviously,
Right.
there's a monthly membership for the gym, but
And I would say
you get the
I would
point. You get the point.
Right, right. And I think that most people, I mean, most of you guys listen, so you can tell us, but I think that most of you would consider what he did like a great idea, and you're like, wow,
Well,
like why didn't I think of that? Why couldn't I think of that? So like, I
but
think
we
that
actually ran into people there who were doing the exact same thing.
right. I think that we think we're looking for the most efficient thing, the most efficient, the cheapest, the best idea to like live our lives. So it's like, unless we're billionaires, which maybe some of you are, maybe, hey, Bill Gates, if you're listening to our show, then, my bad. I know I wouldn't want you living in a 24-hour fitness lot, but like, we're not billionaires. So you can go ahead and stay at the $1,000 a night hotel. But for us normal people, we're going to look for the most efficient way to do things.
Oh yeah, and I think it's good to realize that what these hotels do for like the festivals, for example, they jack up their prices during
Right.
those weekends, and now Airbnb came out with a way to basically undercut the prices through their app, and now they're all angry because now people are choosing them over the hotels for basically the same service, just cheaper price.
Right.
Now,
And I mean, it goes even into it a little bit more. Like, I mean, we can talk about it. Hotels are cool. Like if you're in Vegas, let's say, and you're going to Vegas for a vacation because it's awesome, you're going to want to go to the hotel that looks like a Roman palace, or you're going to want to maybe go and stay at the MGM where I think they have tigers or something there. Like, you're going to go there for the experience. You're going to go there for the service. But if you're just, a worker who flies into a place and needs somewhere to sleep for like 3 hours, then you're going to do something that's cheap. Like, for instance, I know that if I'm on a road trip or whatever, I'm going to pull into the parking lot at like 2 in the morning or something, and we're going to get back on the road at 7. I don't need to spend $300 to have all these services when all I need is somewhere to rest my eyes for a couple hours, And even so, when you're talking about, I mean, I'm sorry, I'll make it quick, but like, if you're talking about these hotels and how they have such high prices, are you saying that they're really trying to do what's in your best interest because they go out there and charge you $300 for somewhere to sleep and then give you like a free breakfast or whatever? Most places or something like that, that's their amenities, they'll say. But so I'm going to get $1 or $2 worth of free cereal in the morning, and all of a sudden it's supposed to be worth $300 when I could just be staying at an Airbnb for $25.
yeah, and the thing about the Airbnb, people have been doing this all the time. Like, people rent out rooms. It's a common thing. Now it's just an app where people can actually go through the app to find somewhere, and it's just short term.
And maybe
It made something much easier than it used to be before.
Right, and what if people? I know that back in the day when like hotels were first being created or whatnot, people were like, "Oh wow, check this out! I'm gonna go stay in a hotel or something, like this is awesome." But we're kind of over that phase, I think, as society, and now we're maybe looking for something that's a little bit more on a personal level. So we want to go to stay in an Airbnb. Maybe they have home cooked meals. I don't know how it works. Maybe you buy some groceries for them, and you get for $10 extra, you get a home cooked meal. Maybe you get to play with someone's awesome dog or something. You know what I mean? Like you like oh, how is that not more appealing than staying in a hotel? I feel like it is.
Well, I'm sure the personal touch. I think that's why B&Bs, just regular bread and breakfasts, are kind of a thing because it's more the personal touch. You see the
Right.
person. Like if you stay at a hotel, you're not just you don't meet the owner of the hotel or the manager ever unless there's a
Right.
complaint.
And it makes it I would argue that it makes this kind of stuff more accessible to the common person, maybe someone who has less money, because I'm thinking back on it and I'm like, most people, if you're middle or lower class, you're gonna maybe, if you go on vacation at all, if you can somehow afford to go on a vacation, you're gonna go on it like once a year or something. It's called summer vacation for a reason, and I think that you do that because you can't afford to do it more than once a year. You have to save up all year just to get one opportunity to go do something. Because I mean, so first of all, I think that airplane tickets are pretty high, but even if you pay, let's say, $800 for Christmas, which is one of the most expensive times of the year, but then you want to stay somewhere for a week and you're spending 200, 300 bucks a night, depending on how many people, if you bring your whole family, it could be way more than that for a week. You're spending way more money on this hotel than you are on just a plane ticket. It's quite unaffordable. So it's like, hey, what if we can go somewhere and we pay 20, 25 bucks a night? Maybe we cook for the person who owns the Airbnb and then they let us stay there for cheap. It's almost just like a community thing. It's, hey, why don't we all just facilitate each other? Why don't we all try to do something that benefits each other somehow? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And well, another quick story about me. I stayed in Airbnb last summer, or yeah, last summer. For I went to Vegas, and I wasn't going to Vegas to gamble or anything like that. I was going for a music festival, so like staying in a big hotel wasn't a priority to me because I was only going to be there for like 6 hours of the day. The rest of the time, I was going to be out and about. So, and the hotels, I looked up prices and I saw they jacked up the prices. Obviously, you could expect that. EDC is a pretty big event. I think it's the largest or second largest in the country for music festivals, and I only worked a part-time job at the time, and I saved more money using Airbnb than I would at a hotel. Part-time job,
By far.
I got a sweet room, and it was I think $300 total for like 3 or 4 nights,
Yeah,
and
and that's could be expensive because you're in Vegas. Like, what happens if you're just on a business trip to, pick a place, some small town somewhere, and you just need literally somewhere to keep your bag and to sleep, so you don't get arrested for sleeping in your car.
yeah, like
I
one
just
of
think
these
that
small
that's.
towns.
But I mean, I think we should change gears a little bit here and start kind of talk about you know, maybe this competition idea and whatnot. Like, so I think that as an individual, as an organization, whatever it is, I think you're kind of responsible to adapt. You're responsible to continually adapt to what's in front of you or whatnot, and basically figure out a way to remain being successful. I kind of like to kind of think about sports when I talk about this because obviously I'm trying to make it make sense to all of us because we're all just normal people, so we need to like have a reference here. And I'd say it's kind of like when you're in high school and you're like going to a tournament, whatever sports you play, you're going to a tournament. So let's say you win your regional tournament or your league tournament, whatever you guys call it. You win that tournament. What would happen if you said, "Hey, I won this tournament, and now I have states or some bigger tournament the next couple weeks," but you just stop preparing, you stop trying, you just say, "Hey, I already won," and then you go and complain that you lost to the next level. I think it kind of relates to this in that you can't just because you have a hotel, because you own a business, and someone else starts to compete with you and starts to like create a better product than you, to provide a better service, and now you're just not number one anymore. You
Yeah.
have no right. It's not your God-given right to have that number one spot. Your job is to continually better yourself, better your business, so you can stay competitive and stay on top.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you can't go around crying about it when you've done nothing to improve, and someone else came out and said, "I know a
Right.
way to improve this, make it cheaper for everybody," and that's essentially what they did. Uh, the competition is good. It's when you add competition, you're adding the supply, and when you add supply to meet demand or excess supply with less demand, it lowers the prices. And I think a big thing about this is you shouldn't stop the you shouldn't stop them from succeeding. You should figure out a way for you to succeed.
Right.
And I think another large part of it is the regulations. It shouldn't be just them with the regulations, obviously. Figure out a way to take away regulations so you're on their playing field, not add regulations to them and raise prices for everyone else who's trying to just get something cheaper. Everyone wants something cheaper, something easier and something efficient. Not
Right.
not make it harder for everyone else.
Right. I mean, I just think it's kind of wild that that there's these organizations out there that are just trying to, you know, hurt others to benefit themselves. I don't know, but and then we can go further on this and talk about those people that are succeeding. It's not just Airbnb, by the way. Airbnb is awesome, and I think that I love Airbnb. I think Nix loves Airbnb. I think that you guys, for the majority, are loving the idea that Airbnb has. But it's not just them. I can bring up more examples of people that are doing it, I would arguably better than Airbnb. Like, for example, you have Amazon. All right. Go ahead and explain to me how Amazon isn't one of the best things that you've ever learned about. If it's not, does everyone not use it? I know I use it. I use it more than going to a store now. I'm pretty
I
sure
live
that Nick
off of
does
it.
too.
Uh,
Right.
my entire place is furnished with Amazon.
Right, completely. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And then you look at these guys, you look at these people who create these businesses, and you're like, Jeff Bezos, by the way, if you don't know, he's the guy who made Amazon. He wasn't born into a global business. He wasn't born a billionaire. Like he wasn't raised as the top 1%. He was a normal guy like you, like me, like everyone around us. He took about like a $300,000 loan out from his parents. Like his parents refinanced their house to give him 300 grand to move to Seattle to start his dream. And by the way, his dream wasn't to own the world. His dream was to sell used books via this new thing called the internet. And I think that he just wanted to help people. He just wanted to, provide something using this new platform called the internet. And now he's where he's at today. And I don't think that's because he had this conniving idea on how can I screw people over? How can I make money off the people? He said, what can I do to make this country a better place, to make this world a better place? What can I bring to the table to help other people's lives improve, to help give them a better life, more opportunity, to give them what they want? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. And you could say the same about Uber as well. And taxi companies hate Uber, but Uber's great. It's the same thing. It's basically a taxi company, just in personal cars, probably more comfortable, newer cars, and it's cheaper. And
Right.
people hate on Uber and everything. And I don't know how the person who invented Uber is and how much money they had growing up, but what they did is they brought a service or used a service that already existed and essentially made it better for everyone else. So people hate on Uber and Amazon because they have so much money. But what they don't realize is they make your life so much easier.
Right. I mean, and I would almost argue that you have these other companies where in the past, maybe when you created a business or you created something like that, your goal was just to make money. You weren't out there to help other people. So maybe even that's how these hotels are. Their goal is, hey, I'm trying to just create an empire of hotels. I'm just trying to make money for myself. I'm not trying to help anyone else. That's why I will jack the prices through the roof or something like that. That's why I'll fight for more regulation. But when you look at it, I think that that's why in today's generation, these people like Jeff Bezos or like Uber or Airbnb, the reason why they're so successful is because they're not worried about making money for themselves. They're more interested in just helping other people, providing a service for millions or even billions of people in Amazon's case that will make their life better, more efficient, and more enjoyable. And then the money is just a byproduct of that goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like what they bring to the table is improving people's lives and making it easier for everyone. And when you have these hotels that are trying to add regulation, you know that they're thinking about themselves, only themselves. They're not thinking about how do we make it better for our customers. They're thinking about how do we get more customers by screwing them over, basically raising the prices. And I think that's part of the reason why Airbnb started to begin with. Hotels would jack up their prices. People had rooms that they were able to rent, and that's what they did.
Right.
They
And
made
if I
competition.
and dare I argue that people will talk about Amazon or Uber or Airbnb and they'll say, "Hey, these guys have a monopoly. They're controlling the market." But I think that a monopoly in the negative light is something that controls the market so that they can jack up the prices and no one can no one can do anything else other than you know pay those prices because they have no other option. But I think that in this case, these companies, all they're doing is trying to get the prices as low as possible. So, yeah, they might control the market, but it's not because they're wrongfully doing it. They're there just to help. You know what I mean? And then if anyone else out there has any like ideas of their own, feel free to hit us up and we'll talk about that on a future episode. But then I just kind of wanted to maybe switch gears again here and talk a little bit about we know that the purpose of this podcast we're gonna talk about some things that are going on in present time. We're gonna talk about what our personal opinions are about them, but it's also more what can we do to become like them? What like Airbnb I told you was started by a regular person, so was Amazon. What would it take for us to do the same thing? And I think that it's very possible for everyone to
Oh yeah,
create a
I
business of their
completely
own.
agree. Today, in America right now is one of the best times to start something or to be innovative. Like you don't, we don't need people providing basic needs anymore. For that's a kind of a loose term, but like the people, us consumers, people buying stuff, we don't. We need things to make stuff easier. That's why they're so successful.
Right. I think what you're trying to say is like we don't need someone to open a factory to produce t-shirts anymore. We don't need someone to open a factory to create something like that. You don't need to with the advent of the internet, if you want to start your own business, you don't need to buy a building and have the physical business located at a place where it costs a couple $1,000 a month to rent. You don't need that. You can start a business now pretty much entirely online for basically free. You can basically start to pursue your dreams for free if you want to. You know what I mean? So I would say that the opportunity for us to do what we want is essentially the most that it's
Yeah,
ever been
and
before.
I think once people can wrap their head around that the money isn't making a new product, it's creating a service to make it easier, and that's why these companies have been so successful. And it's important to realize that they're not a big evil company because they started out small. They were small, and they worked their butts off to get to where they are today.
Let me put it this way, guys. Let me just put it to you like this. when Thomas Jefferson promised us the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, specifically the pursuit of happiness, he meant just that. He meant to have the opportunity to achieve happiness. He wasn't guaranteeing us happiness and content. He was just saying, we're going to provide you the opportunity to achieve that if you want. You know what I mean? So it's not the end result. We're not guaranteed the end result of being a millionaire, of owning your own business, of controlling your life the way you want it to. You're just given the opportunity to put in the work to achieve that. And I think that we're living in a time where we have, and a generation where we have the utmost amount of opportunity to do that. The playing field has been leveled. The internet has created a scene where people like the guys who made Airbnb can come out and start to create a business that benefits the common man, that can compete with these big time businesses who own property, who have increased the prices just to make a profit off the average man. And they've created like a playing field where we can all benefit from.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% right. You don't need to be born into a billionaire family. You could do it with almost no money, because everything's so easy with the internet and the generation time we live in now. It's gonna be up to you
Right.
to actually make your dream a reality.
Right. Nobody's going to do the work for you. Nobody's going to hold your hand while you do it. But I think that the dream that Thomas Jefferson and our founding fathers envisioned, where we have the most opportunity, is in today's generation. I think that if you were ever to be lucky enough to be born in a time and a place to achieve those basic rights, I think that this is it, and this is that generation.
And yeah, that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you for listening to the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Please tell a friend. Spread the word. If you want to check us out on Twitter, it's @Empower Podcast. And have a nice week. Bye-bye.